Welcome to The Dime with Skye D. This is number 7. They're stacking up quickly. Thanks a million for all the support out there. Got a cool guest tonight, Dave Becker. We're going to have a good conversation. Thanks a million for joining us. Stick around. Okay, so here we are. Again, thank you so much for everybody's feedback and support and constructive criticism. I'm taking steps to make this a little better, a little more technically sound every week, so thanks again for that. The Michael Jackson poem that I had written in past episodes is getting a lot of feedback recently, so that was cool to find out as well, and thanks a lot for that. Like I said, we got Dave Becker coming out here in a minute. He is a woodshop teacher from the one and only Sutter Middle School. So what we're going to go ahead and start off with here is the old one truth, one lie. People are liking this, so off we go. Okay, so tonight's stories are going to involve the construction of the Kremlin in Russia and the White House in the United States. The Kremlin was built over centuries, actually. It was initially conceived by Yuri Golgury, the idea, and built under several czars. The guy who finished it was a man by the name of Leonard Gargastin, and he finished it in the late 1800s. The final product that you see on the cover of Tetris and things like that. So the story behind the building of the Kremlin goes, they got the finest architects, artists, all these things in Russia, and they put them together. The guy who finished it, like I said, put the finishing touches on it, was this guy Leonard Gargastin. Now, after it was all done, it was pretty much acknowledged as the most beautiful thing on earth at the time. The Tsar at the time, Tsar Nicholas, one night, after this Kremlin was built, a year or two later, he had the head architect over for dinner. And he asked this guy, Mr. Gargastin, he said, "Can you build me another one of these Kremlins?" Okay. Well, Gargastin didn't want to upset the Tsar, and for all he knew, have his head chopped off on the spot. So he said, "Of course I can, sir. I'm getting up there in years, but I'll give it my best shot. Of course I could build you another one of these." Well, little did he know, the Tsar actually wanted him to say no. The Tsar was looking for no, nothing will ever be built again this beautiful, was what he was looking for, actually. So as a result of the guy saying he could build him another one, the Tsar had him blinded on the spot in a very crude way. Okay, the second story involves the construction of our very own White House. George Washington, along with a city planner named Pierre L'Enfant, came up with the idea in about 1780. And it didn't actually come to fruition until they got a group of architects to build, or a couple of lead architects to build it in 1791. Well, naturally, every architect in America wanted their hands on the building of the White House. So they narrowed it down to the 9 greatest finalists. And they put together a panel of judges, and they had, they judged them in several different ways. And what they came up with was a head architect and an assistant architect. Well, in 1971, they chose head architect named Stanley Winters, a well-known man from Hoboken, New Jersey. The assistant architect was James Hoban from New York City. So they began work on the White House, which was going to take a few years, and within a few months, it became clear these two guys weren't getting along. One weekend, as luck would have it, about 2 months into the building of the project, the lead architect, Stanley Winters, disappeared. James Hoban then takes over as the lead architect of the White House. It is finished under his guidance a couple years later, and his name is the one. He is the guy that built the White House. Interesting little side note: 11 months after its completion, James Hoban's brother, Jebediah Hoban, was overcome with guilt and confessed to the murder of the head architect, Stanley Winters. Alright, so there they are. Those are our 2 stories tonight. Take your pick. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that one. Dave Becker will be out here in just a bit, and he'll get to guess himself. Okay, our first animated short tonight is going to be in honor of a good friend of mine, Alex Bowl, and his wife, and also a good friend of mine, Joanna Hedrick, recently had their first child. Sagan Hedrick, and hoping all the best for her. And so I came up with the idea of, like, a present to them. I would make this explanation, kind of a humorous little explanation of, "Welcome to Earth, little baby. Here's what you need to know about our planet and human existence." I'm going to do it in a chapter at a time, present it here on my show. So the first chapter of what somebody who was just born into Earth needs to know is entitled Brief Overview, and you can see it now.
Welcome to Earth, little fellow. I hope your time here is enjoyable. I am Dr. No More, your tour guide. There is so much to cover, so this first chapter will represent a brief overview of things. Let's start with the planet you were born on, Earth. It is a roundish mass of land twirling and floating through a vast expanse of space that is only recently being sorted out by wise human beings known as scientists. Speaking of human beings, or people, you are one. There are over 5 billion of us on this home known as Earth. As far as the setting goes, Earth is covered mostly by swishing waves made of water and salt that are home to a vast array of life, but are not a suitable place for human inhabitants. The rest of the planet is covered by what is known as land that is suitable for human beings and has been used primarily for the proliferation of our species. Human beings are an amazing, dynamic, and unstoppable kind that are capable of both the greatest things ever known and the most horrible atrocities ever imagined. Humans are simultaneously a skilled ninja and a wobbling infant, responsible for achievements such as the helicopter, bacon, motorcycles, and swimming pools, yet feverishly unclear on many of the primary questions involving why or who our species is. While on Earth, you should be thoughtful when deciding which people to become close with. While you would think all people be honest and pleasant and caring toward our home, the Earth, this is not the case. In fact, in order to keep human beings from eating one another, a series of rules or laws has been set in place in most every area of the aforementioned lands. Some of the laws are very good, some are subject to debate. If you are watching this video, there is a good chance you were born in America, which is a marked-off territory known as a country in which a certain set of laws and ways of life can exist. American life and laws will be discussed further in Chapter 2. This is enough for now. Good night. Now I'd like to introduce my guest this evening. Very talented man that is the woodshop teacher over at Sutter Middle School, Dave Becker.
All right, so here I am with tonight's guest, Dave Becker, my man. Thank you very much for joining us.
Nice to see you, Skye.
He is the one and only woodshop teacher at the great Sutter Middle School, for which he garners some $90,000 a year, teaching kids how to make little gates and stuff like that.
Just about, Skye.
What's the thrust of the? What's the main thrust of the woodshop? What are we teaching these kids?
Learn how to use power tools. Be safe. Keep all your digits on. And what I tell the girls is, when you get to college, you're not going to have to ask Bobby down the hall to, hang up a picture or, put up a shelf. They will know how to do that. They will know how to use a hammer and all that, all the good stuff.
That's a very good point. And these people take him seriously. And you're right. By the time they leave your class, it's only a 9-week class, right?
Although it will be 18 weeks the upcoming year. It's changed. Oh, okay. So I'll have them for 18 weeks, actually.
Uh-huh.
So
in this crafts class, we have a share of students that happen to injure themselves. Dave, you got a story about when you actually injured yourself one time?
Well, actually, I did. We have students' parents who come and visit our school. And at one point, I was fixing a tool, and sure enough, a blade went right through my finger.
This is while parents are visiting.
This is while parents are visiting. And the funny thing is, I can't remember what her name. I had her son a couple years before, and a blade went through my hand, and I kind of freaked, and I just yanked out the blade. And then, as I'm walking, blood dripping down on the floor to go wash it off, one of the parents whose son I had several years ago said, "Hey, Mr. Becker, Nick's mom." And I went, "Hey, how you doing? How's Nick?" And her daughter was there. And I'm bleeding, and so how's Nick doing? Oh, he's a Jesuit. Oh, he's doing great. He's a junior. I'm going, okay, great. Excuse me. I'm just going to go wash this off. She was completely oblivious to the fact that blood is dripping on the floor. I said, yeah, great, super, Nick, love you.
Okay, so we've reached the point in the show where my man Dave is about to guess which one of my two stories is true and which one is a lie. Like I said, I tried to gear it towards the whole woodshop construction architecture type of thing. So we have two stories. The building of the Kremlin and that horror story, then the way it ended, and the building of the White House and that kind of horror story, the way what that involved. Which one of those two do you believe is true?
We're going with the Kremlin.
The Kremlin's true.
Yeah, taking a shot.
Okay, here's the real answer. Okay, so guess was right this week. Perhaps you were at home as well. That's all the time we have for this evening. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks again to my guest Dave Becker here.
Thanks, Skye.
I would love it if you guys can go ahead and subscribe to me. Boom, in this yellow corner up here on YouTube. That would help out a lot. But just watching and giving me feedback, I appreciate so much. So thanks again, folks, and we will see you in one short week.